This is the Hot Take Hockey Podcast with your hosts, Lucas and John Viveiros.
Hey everyone, episode 35 of the Hot Take Hockey Podcast. Lucas, myself, John, and wow, finishing the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Lucas, it seemed like we got a lot of favorites out of the first round, and then right at the end, we got a bunch of upsets I feel like people were confident in their brackets, and then now I think 80% of the brackets were just scrapped there right at the end. So how are you feeling, man? Obviously, I don't want to hide the lead too much here. We're Leaf fans, so something happened that, we've seen in our lifetime, Lucas, but at the point of us being so young, this time we could really appreciate it. And I saw your reaction, and I think you saw mine. So how are you feeling, man? I think for me, it's one of those things. Now it's just, you're on to the next round, and I'm kind of on the same vibe with the players. Let's keep her going.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we'll start with the Leafs, I guess. We are Leaf fans, and you're coming out with that. So we'll start there. And 19 years is a hell of a long time. And I think that series really could have gone either way. Seriously, yep. I think Tampa really played them hard. A lot of the quotes from players and coaching staff, even of Tampa, said that they thought they played better this year than last year against the Leafs, right? So it could have went either way. Went the Leafs' way this time, and great to see the city of Toronto buzzing, and so many fans, outside of Scotiabank Arena that aren't even, weren't even born in 2004. So that's huge for those guys. As far as what you said before the Leafs too, those upsets, it's not even just that they were upsets, John. I feel like it's they are shock the world upsets. I think Seattle is a massive upset because of Colorado obviously winning the Stanley Cup last year, Seattle being only in their second year.
Yep.
But yeah, we got to talk about Boston, Florida. Dude, record-setting year for Boston, and this is what happens. They also had a 3-1 lead and choked that. That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, I was gonna say, I'm gonna make a video because I feel like I actually looked back at some comments today, and a lot of people were just laughing at me for picking Seattle. And my thing is, there was one specific reason, Lucas, where I think you could pick Florida, and it was the whole mentality of the house money. They were playing playoff games towards the end, so they were just already in that vibe. They were already in that style. But Lucas, I gave significant reasons why I thought Seattle would beat Colorado. And I saw this stat today, and Friedman talked about it on this pod, that I think every goal from Colorado, either an assist or goal on the goal or an assist on every goal, was from the big four of McKinnon, Rantanen, Makar, and Taves.
It's lack of depth.
That was my main reason. I said, look at Seattle's third and fourth line, and you could argue that's as good as second lines in the playoffs right now. So I added that with the fact that people kept saying Seattle was inexperienced. And then I'm like, how are they inexperienced when they have 4 cup guys on their team and they have a bunch of veterans and their defense is just built of a bunch of monsters? So that was my second reason. And my third reason was, Lucas, we've seen it time and time again, and we've seen it from Leafs a lot. And I've talked to Oilers fans that have seen it. Former players, former goalies. I was all aboard for the Grubauer revenge tour. I said, man, I was like, if there's one thing I'm looking out for, it's Philip Grubauer playing a revenge series, and he played out of his mind.
How about him in the first period last night?
Oh my gosh, man. Some of the saves he was making, man.
Colorado could have had a multi-goal lead in that first period and really started to gain momentum and put the game away, and Grubauer wouldn't have it. No, dude.
I'll be with the vibe in saying Jake Ottinger was the best goalie in the first round. And then I think we can go into even saying Samsonov had a couple of really clutch games. Yep. But in terms of just a clutch series and a statement series from a guy that went through injuries, he was taking a backseat to a guy like Martin Jones. Philip Grubauer came in this first round and freaking stole a series. And I love his post-game press interview. But what a freaking story, man. So you know what? I think people will say it's a massive upset. I agree. Obviously, I agree. But I think there was more reasons for Seattle to win that series versus the Florida over Boston. I truly just think Boston choked.
Yeah, I agree too. I think Seattle is a big upset. I still believe that because of Colorado just winning the cup last year. If you take it off 100%. Face value on that. But the Avalanche are a much different team. We know that.
100%. And no Landeskog, no Nichushkin.
No
they were missing guys. Yeah.
And Georgiev's unproven still, right? There was a lot of question marks. And I think, most brackets out there, people dismissed those and just went along with, McKinnon and Rantanen are going to carry them and McCart's going to carry them. Didn't go out that way. But yeah, I think those are the biggest storylines of the first round. Obviously, lots of other matchups we can get into. My LA Kings went home in 6 games to Edmonton. little bit sad about that one, but now it's all aboard the Canadian Stanley Cup final. That's what I'm going to be pumping. But how about we look at some of the second round matchups? Obviously tonight will be Devils and Rangers, and we'll add on a little piece at the end of this, at the end of the pod, just to cover that a little bit.
Yep.
Really looking forward to that game, man. That game's going to be electric. Johnny, you're streaming, buddy. It's going to be a time. You've been pumping the streams out, man. 50K on the way.
On the way, man. I've been exhausted, but yeah. Honestly, it's wild. I wanted at least 3 game 7, so we got that. And yeah, I mean, I feel like there is something to be said about the momentum coming out of these series too. Like, I wonder what's going to happen for like a team like Florida. Again, talking about house money and talking about momentum. As Leaf fans, I really don't want to underestimate that, because I've even said this about Bobrovsky, is like, you really get the highest of highs from Bobrovsky or the lowest of lows. Like, the guy is literally, talk to any Panthers fan, he is literally either like one of the better goalies you'll see or one of the worst goalies you'll see. And I mean, you saw that version of Bobrovsky against Tampa when Columbus slept, but then you see the version of Bobrovsky when Tampa like slept them last year. So I don't know. It's just like, you see different versions. Matthew,
I mean, even in the season, John, he wins the Vezina, then he's like a sub 900 goal.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Matthew Tkachuk, I gotta say, did you see Biz's tweet about Matthew Tkachuk?
No, I didn't see that one. What did he say?
That's a whole different conversation about what's great for TV. And Biz is great for TV, but he's also been a big like Leaf supporter and Leaf hype man. But this guy loves to play both sides, because he fired a tweet yesterday, Lucas, saying Matthew Tkachuk is currently the best American-born player in the NHL. So you didn't even see that.
Spicy take.
We got live reaction.
I just see him with his chain video, like he's part of the chain gang. I see him hyping up the Leafs, but wow. I mean, yeah, playing both sides. He's doing great for TV, like you said. Yeah. And he is a buddy of Matthew Tkachuk's. He loves the Tkachuk boys. So yeah. I see why he put something spicy out like that. But yeah, he's all aboard the Leaf wagon.
But what a story Matthew Tkachuk's been. Love him or hate him. I mean, the guy drives me freaking nuts, and guys like him and Nick Cousins are going to drive me nuts in this upcoming series. But oh my God, the guy, like in every single play, even when he wasn't putting a point on the board, like guy ends up screening freaking Swayman on the game-winning goal for Verhaeghe. Like those little things he does.
Even right before that, when Swayman tried to like whack at him, and he's all of a sudden off his goalie set. Like Tkachuk just he impacts the game in so many ways. I mean, even in the season, John, like lots of people had him as the Hart favorite if McDavid didn't exist, right? Like he's the close second or third pick for the Hart. So
no, 100%.
Yeah.
I would say, like, is there anyone else on the West? I know I mentioned Ottinger. Like for you, I mean, I feel like Drysdale had an insane series. Like, is there anyone we could pinpoint?
Brossoit's a big story.
Oh, that's a good story. And you know what? Actually, I want you to keep going, but I was going to say Brossoit's a former Edmonton Oiler.
Yeah.
So that could be a revenge series.
That's a spicy take. Yeah, man. I mean, I would have never thought 3 months ago that Brossoit would have been starting games for Vegas in the playoffs, let alone, dismissing Winnipeg in 5. I think, I gave Winnipeg the benefit of the doubt to get a second game with Hellebuck. But Brossoit, he had a great first round. And so, especially after acquiring Jonathan Quick, man, like I just didn't think Brossoit was going to be the guy for them.
I know.
But that's a big story. Other big guys, Draisaitl's breaking records. I mean, he's up there with like Gretzky and Lemieux. I heard in terms of how fast he's reached.
Like actually, that's stupid.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's nuts. It's nuts. He's crazy in the playoffs. I mean, most of his goals are, I'll get on him for this a lot. Where most of his goals are that cross seam pass, and he's just below the hash marks and smashes it in. But nobody can defend it, man. It's turning into his version of Ovechkin slap shot. So, we're gonna have more storylines obviously after tonight with the Rangers and Devils. Looking forward to talking about that. But I think those are the big ones right now. If we want to move into the second round, chat a little bit about that.
Yeah. So we'll go into that. What are you most intrigued by? Like, obviously, so right now, Boston and Colorado going out. Obviously, I think just looking at it face value, regardless, like people will chirp the Leafs, and as Leaf fans, like you got to be careful. I don't want to have anyone coming back on clips or anything. And then the Oilers, obviously, we'll see what happens. But it's just factual. I mean, they're the 2 favorites to win the cup right now. So that's not coming from us. Like that's from the odds. Yep. And you know what? I've always said, I have always disagreed, Lucas, that the Leafs have been like top 5, top 6 and cup rankings going to the playoffs when they've literally not passed the first round. So I disagree with that. But at the point of looking at the final 8, I mean, I would say you have to consider the Oilers and Leafs at least as top 4 favorites at this very moment.
Absolutely. And I think the Leafs path got a lot, clearer. Again, not trying to underestimate Florida, but with Boston going out, that does open up that door where, I feel like if it was Toronto, Boston would be a bit of a favorite, right? So now in this scenario, the Leafs are a favorite. What am I most intrigued about? I think it would be, man, I think it's the fact that you look at the teams that have advanced so far, and most of them have been to the conference finals within recent memory. But Toronto and Florida haven't. So one of them's getting there. And that's crazy, right? One of Toronto or Florida is in the conference finals. We know that for sure. But you look at some of these other teams. I mean, Seattle too, obviously would be a huge story if they keep advancing.
Yeah.
A lot of these other teams have been perennial, conference finals, knocking on the door of that cup. So my number one thing to watch right now is that we're either going to have the Panthers or the Leafs in the conference finals. I think that's mind blowing.
Yeah. Well, 100%. I was actually saying that on the live stream last night. I'll add to this about creating a path. And I'll go back to 2019 as the reference again, and just saying that when Columbus did sweep Tampa, that was the whole conversation of Boston, because Bruins fans kept talking about, oh my gosh, like if we're gonna have to face Tampa, like Tampa's gonna have our number, all these conversations. And then it was just like, oh my God, whoever comes out of this Toronto-Boston series has a path now. So Boston went right to the Cup final. Of course, they did lose to St. Louis. But my point in saying that is that I look at three teams now that have a path. And Dallas has always had a tough time with Colorado. Colorado's out of the picture. Dallas is now on that side of the bracket. Again, guys, I got the Kraken jersey in the background. I'm not going to underestimate the Seattle Kraken, but Dallas has got a path. Edmonton, I think if you talk to Oilers fans the last couple of years, and then obviously specifically last year, they got swept by Colorado. If Edmonton can get past Vegas, they've got a path. Toronto, they've always had a tough time getting past the Boston Bruins. Well, the Bruins just got upset by the Panthers, so they got a path. So all I'm saying is, if there was a scenario for these teams to get that opportunity to go far, I mean, they're getting it. I mean, the Leafs, who knows? Maybe jinx, or maybe the Leafs overcomplicate things again. Who knows? But I will say the Leafs have done quite a bit to exercise the demons per se. And Lucas, one more thing. I've had a lot of people ask me the last couple of days leading into that Game 7, who would I rather see the Leafs play, Boston or Florida? And I genuinely said, I do not care, because I think there's two sides of it. Florida riding so much momentum coming off a 3-1 comeback. That's scary in itself. But man, I would say this. If Toronto did end up playing Boston and Toronto somehow beat Boston in that scenario, I think at that point, Lucas, we could say Toronto exercised their demons in every single way possible. And I think at that point, if the Leafs had beat Boston in the second round, I'd be like, they're going to the final. They're going to the final and they have a great chance to win the cup. I'm not going to say that they don't have that chance, but I think at that point, the same way, I've used this reference on the podcast, once upon a time when Washington had the tough first round series that beat Pittsburgh in the second round. Look what Washington did. They won the cup that year. So
they ride that momentum and that just like that unwavering like belief after you beat those two teams. And that's what I agree. I think that if Toronto was playing Boston, if they were to beat Boston, like there'd be no turning back. I think that they would just feel so good about themselves, right?
And I do think they feel that right now. I do think they feel that.
I still
but
do.
Florida's momentum is scary.
But they're turning this on its head a bit from a fan perspective, right? If the Leafs played Boston and lost to them, how much better do Leaf fans feel, right? I mean, you got the first monkey off the back, but you just run into the team that's always beat you. Yeah. So obviously that's not the case that we're in, but yeah, I think Toronto playing Florida, they got a tremendous opportunity. Florida has that swagger though. They have a tremendous opportunity here for them not having to play Tampa, right? So it works in both ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kachuk scares me right now. I think that he's feeling good. He walked in, what was it, after Game 5 and said, "We'll be back. Remember this dressing room here in TD Garden? We'll be back." And
I think that's even scarier. Oh my God. That part, Lucas, for me is even scarier. When a player does that and it actually pans out, it's like I don't want to say like it's like like the power dynamic, but like now even guys in the room for Florida, I'm like, oh my God, like this guy's freaking calling it how how it's happening. Like there's belief in the dressing room. And the scary part for me is there's certain guys in the playoffs too, Lucas, that haven't scratched the surface on what I think they can do. McDavid's one of those guys for me because Draisaitl's the talking point of that series. And that's a scary thing for any team, I think. So McDavid could wake up. I also think for Dallas, I think if Pavelski comes back and they get that top line going, I think the Stars, there was a lot of storylines going there and their big names at some points weren't the storyline except for like Hintz and Heiskanen. But I think Florida, the guy that I'm worried about, Lucas, to wake up is Barkov.
Yeah. He was quiet.
he was quiet. He was barely a storyline in that first round. That's a guy that we've talked about being a top 10 center in this league. The fact that he was not a factor, like basically at all, to me is scary.
Yeah, I mean, that does freak me out. Like, right, the Panthers got so many contributions from like Luosterainen. I mean, Brandon Montour, I know you've been beating this drum, but this guy just will not stop.
It's crazy, bro.
He's everywhere, man. All over the ice. He looks like a Norris winner.
It's crazy, bro.
He was just guy before. He was just a top 4 guy. And now he's like, he's putting his team on his back. So they've gotten all these contributions from these guys. You know, you'd have to guess that Montour is not going to shoot the lights out like he did in the first round. And that might come down a little bit back to earth. But Barkov is also going to go the other way. I mean, we're going to see an impact, I think, from Barkov far more than we saw in the first round.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, the Panthers do have a lot of scary depth just down the lineup. Luosterainen, like I said, Verhaeghe, Ryan Lomberg can put in a shift here on occasion. I mean, they got good guys.
Yeah, and they have the shit disturbers, like yeah, we mentioned it, but like, yeah, Lomberg, Bennett, Cousins, Kachuk, like all guys that are playoff style guys. And then, yeah, I mean, you just said it, like the Luosterainen, Lundell, Reinhart line, like that Reinhart goal is just, you see the buildup from like the keep in to Luosterainen getting it to Lundell, or maybe it was the reverse. I think it was Lundell to Luosterainen, and Luosterainen setting up Reinhart. He just rips the top corner. Like you watch that, it's like, that's kind of the stuff we were just seeing from Toronto in terms of like Matthews, Marner, and just like, it's kind of that, I don't know, blind chemistry. You just know where guys are at some point. And Florida was like showing that to a different degree that Boston just wasn't showing towards the end, which is surprising because like you think the Bruins are just such a tight knit group. But that's a scary part. The one more thing I want to add just to the Kraken, and then guys will add to the second part post game of the Rangers Devils. The Kraken are kind of showing that. And I do see the Kraken third line led by Yanni Gourde giving me major, like the fact that Bjorkstrand could have scored like 5 goals in that game 7. Like if guys like that start waking up for Seattle, I mean, they do have similar structure to Dallas. The only advantage I'd probably give Dallas is just like they have a little bit more star power than Seattle. And I would give the goaltending advantage obviously to Dallas. Yeah, of course. Yep. But that's another team that it's like, if you get that synergy going and all across the lineup and that belief, I mean, Haxtell kept saying is like, it's just the guys take over. I mean, Paul Maurice said the same thing. Also, if you guys think that John Cooper's mind games are bad, just wait for Paul Maurice.
Paul Maurice, he's crazy, man.
Bro, the guy loves the mind games. So,
but one more guy too, while we're talking about Seattle, like Matty Beniers. I mean, this guy was almost nowhere to be found, right?
Yeah.
In the first round, like he didn't really have an impact offensively speaking, you know, and he's one of the guys that stirs the drink there. I think he had 1 goal in the series.
Yeah, he had the goal. And then, no, you're right. I mean,
other than that, man,
I'll pull up the stats right now. I mean, you look at the numbers and like some of the guys that were expected to contribute big time. Obviously, Jared McCann went down with the injury, but in 4 games, he only had 1 point. Obviously, Matty Beniers just had the 1 goal. Even a guy like Donato, who they relied on heavily, like I don't even think he got on the board at all for any production. And up until game 7, Bjorkstrand only had 2 points in 6 games. Like, I just feel like the fact that Seattle...
And they beat the Avalanche.
That's what I'm saying. The fact that Seattle squeaked out that series is crazy to me. It speaks to Grubauer, obviously, for having such a great series, but it also speaks to the depth guys and character guys. I mean, Yanni Gourde, playoff performer. We saw it with Tampa. He had almost a point per game series. Jaden Schwartz, Stanley Cup champion. He had 5 points in 7 games.
Yeah.
I just think it comes down to the timing. It comes down to obviously the structure. Most of those games were low scoring, so keep that in mind. But I mean, it has to be said that if Seattle even gets just some of those main contributors going, they could give Dallas a run for their money. But yeah, I mean, man, like I don't want to overthink it. I think a lot of people are probably gonna like. I'll record my second chance bracket video that I usually do every year, just in terms of how we see it. So I mean, we can wrap it up in just saying that, or we can wait till after. But I mean, I feel like most people, you're going to see Dallas move on, Edmonton move on, which is crazy because Vegas was the 1 seed, and I don't know how Vegas on paper is actually heavy underdog favorites, or heavy underdog. Yeah, heavy underdogs on betting, but versus the Oilers as favorites. And then a lot of people are going to pick the Leafs over Panthers. I think the Metro side is the only toss up for a lot of people, really.
Yeah, between Rangers, Devils at this point,
and Hurricanes,
whoever's playing the Canes. Yeah. I think the Canes would have been a little more favored, obviously, if they didn't have all these injuries. But now at this point, like I can see if either of those teams come out between New Jersey and New York being the favorite. But yeah, I think you're on the nose there. I think Dallas, Edmonton, and Toronto are big favorites in terms of what the bookies are going to say.
100%.
But man, I'm so excited for tonight's game. Let's go. Obviously, when everyone's listening to this, it'll already have happened, and you'll catch our part at the end of the pod talking about the game a little bit. But John, good luck in the stream, buddy. You know where I'm sitting on it. I'm Devils all the way. Jack Hughes gonna have a big night tonight.
Hey, well, there you go. We can bounce back and forth, man. I picked Rangers in my bracket.
Let's see it, man. This is, dude. If I lose this one, if the Rangers win this one, I went 4-4 in the first round, which is just like unacceptable, man. Like, bro, I saw some bookies that were like, you know, it was great odds. I don't remember the actual line, but it was like if you pick 7 of 8, you get whatever this payout. And 7 of 8 is tough, man. Like,
yeah.
What are you at right now? Because I'm at I guess 5 out of 7. I'm at 5 out of 7.
Yeah, I mean, I soaked it last night, Lucas, in saying that. So my bracket challenge video shows that I picked the Islanders. But right before, I think I did tell you this. I think we talked like right before I submitted, and I was like, I don't trust the Islanders, man. Like the only reason I'm picking the Islanders is Sorokin. So I did what I submitted to the NHL. I picked Hurricanes, but also for the purpose of this, I guess I'll soak Islanders. But so I picked Seattle, I picked Dallas, I picked Edmonton. So I went 3 for 4 on the west side.
Yeah.
I got Boston wrong. I picked Toronto and I picked Rangers. So I have, in terms of the bracket I submitted, I could end up going 6 for 8 on that bracket.
Yeah.
But for the YouTube video, if the Rangers win, I went 5 for 8.
Okay. I'm in the same boat. If the Devils win, I went 5 for 8. But like, dude, crazy. I thought I was slam dunk like getting 6 of these. Like, the playoffs are a different beast, man. Like, This is what happens. You know, 82 games go by. It doesn't matter what the season holds. You watch the biggest cup contender go home.
Yeah.
With the record-setting season, and you watch last season's cup winner go home to basically an expansion team. You know, second-year expansion team.
Yeah.
Like wild.
No, it's crazy. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, my Seattle pick is saving me for being at least 500 here. So, but I wish I did. Man, I don't know. I look back and I was like, again, the only reason that I picked Winnipeg, and I said it on our pod, the only reason I picked Winnipeg and the Islanders in my video is just the goaltending.
Yeah.
And Brossoit decided to freaking go off. And of course, of all guys, Freddie Anderson comes in game 6 and has an all-timer, bro. Like the guy has an all-timer. As if
I saw one of those in a clinching game.
I know. It's so funny. I mean, hey, I'll claim my shit. I think you've had a little bit more shit talk on Freddie than I have.
Oh, I talk down on Freddie, bro, all the time. I'll chest it right now. Look,
but
Sammy just gave the Leafs the craziest closeout game in his first year, and Freddie couldn't give them one of those. I'm sorry.
No,
like,
so exactly.
Yeah.
But honestly, guys, I actually don't even feel bad for giving the Islanders the shout because they were 1 goal away from forcing a game 7. And if not for Freddie just coming out of nowhere with a great game, like Islanders should have won at home there and it would have went to a toss of game 7. But hey, credit to the Hurricanes, man. If there's one team that, I mean, there's been a lot of teams, including the Leafs, including the Kraken, that have been super resilient in these playoffs. But oh my God, the Hurricanes, they have just this next man up mentality. And Rod Brind'Amour's just got, talk about belief in a room. They are missing major guys in that dressing room, and they just keep on going.
He's got to be one of the most like motivating coaches to play for.
100%.
Just the way he communicates. I love me some Rod Brind'Amour. That's why I said on the pod. That's why I picked Carolina. I was so close. That series was such a toss-up, and I went Carolina because of the coaching. But yeah, I mean, dude, you could sit here for another 20 minutes, talk about different storylines, like the goaltending in so many series where they would try a new goal, like Boston obviously panicking to Swayman in the last game. The Devils going from Vanacek to Schmid, like
Lion to Bobrovsky.
Like, man, it's been wild. But
Skinner to Campbell, back to Skinner.
Yeah.
I mean, we could keep going. You
could. I personally, just closing out on that thought, like I personally am of the mindset that if you're going to switch the goaltenders, you go back to the guy that you believe and trust in the most through the biggest sample size. Like, I personally would not, if I was the Bruins, have started Swayman. I believe that you end it with Ullmark. Even if you lose, you end it with Ullmark. That's why I respected Edmonton. Even though Jack Campbell came in, he did his thing. You go back to Skinner because he was the one that brought you here in the first place, right?
100%.
For the Devils tonight, Schmid starting, right?
That was what was expected, but yeah, I mean, he got smacked in game 6 a bit.
That's what it's looking like. It's looking like he's starting, and I guess we'll see in a few minutes time. But yeah, I mean, for me, that's a tough call because he's won he's won 3 games since he got put in, then lost that tough one in game 6. I think you got to stick with him at this point. I don't think you can panic back to Vanacek. Like, I think that's a bit of a Hail Mary.
Yeah, I wouldn't go back to Vanacek. I mean, it's so tough because, again, like the Bruins made the brutal mistake of just letting it ride out with Allmark. I mean, at the point of like Florida winning that game 5, Lucas, and at TD Garden, how they knew Allmark was injured and went back to him to a game 6 in Florida is beyond me. And it showed. He allowed freaking 6 or 7 goals? 6 goals, I guess. Like it showed, bro. Like that's
why that was the time to make it. That was the time to make the move, game 6. And as soon as they didn't do that, I think to throw Swayman into game 7 is pretty unfair to the guy. Like, right?
Lucas, I was getting so mad at like some fans that were actually ripping Swayman. I'm like, are you guys out of your mind? Like, even if the guy had a bad game, which he didn't in my eyes, like, how on earth a freaking guy in his early 20s gets freaking tossed in game 7? Lucas, it'd be like us as dummies if Samsonov had a freaking crappy game 6 going, Joseph Woll in for game 7. Like, are you kidding me?
I mean, I'm not going to drop any ads, but there were some people that were, starting to panic.
I brought up after
Woll.
Game 1. Also,
I'm not even talking about you. I just mean it was like after game 5. I think it was after game 5. There was talk.
That's
about,
crazy.
Like,
if people were
do we
doing
go
that,
to Walls?
do
we go?
That's crazy.
I saw that. Crazy.
That's crazy.
Nuts.
I'll chest it. After game 1, I initiated a conversation of, will we see Woll in this series? I initiated that conversation. I was quickly quiet after game 3 when Samsonov had the game 3, Samsonov let in the kind of 2 sus goals, and then the rest of the game he took over. And then after that I was quiet, obviously. But one more quick thought I just thought about. So Samsonov just beat Vasilevsky in a series. Yeah.
Now he's gonna go up against Bobrovsky. And then who knows? You could see Shesterkin maybe in the conference finals. Like if it bounces that way, like is he gonna have to play all these Russian goalies to get his way down to the finals? Like that'd be pretty wild, because obviously for him, Vasilevsky is an icon.
100%.
In terms of at the position in Russia, right?
100%. No, and I was also gonna say that I do think for Samsonov too, the only thing I don't want to start on a negative. Or I guess end on a negative, but start before the series. And a Panthers fan messaged this to me today is Samsonov in a couple of games last year got lit up against the Panthers. Like Caps versus Panthers, he got lit up.
Is it time for Joseph Woll?
I don't want to bring out that. I'm bringing positive vibes with Sammy. It's a new year, new team. But I mean, you know what, Lucas? I go back again. I hate bringing things up, but I go back to even that Pittsburgh year when they went from Fleury to Murray. Like, who knows? Honestly, who knows? I'm riding Sammy. I'm all in on Sammy, but it's those things go through your head. And I'm not insinuating anything to everyone listening, but Matt Murray returned to practice today. Joseph Woll's in their back pocket. It's all in on Sammy at this point. But when that Panthers fan messaged me today, Lucas, and I actually looked back on a couple of those games when Sammy got lit up against Florida last year, I'm like, like, that's all I did. I didn't make any comments. I didn't say, oh boy, we're in trouble. I just did one of those. So it makes you think. That's all. It makes you think.
And traditionally, the Leafs have struggled versus Florida. I know that this year they played well against them, winning 3 or 4, but just traditionally, I feel like they've gone into, FL, I think it's called FLA Live Arena now. And they've lost a lot of games there, like just over the years. I just remember so many brutal games there. But we're starting with a positive, right? I mean, they're going to the second round, buddy. We're laughing now.
All right, guys, we will chat after game 7 of the Rangers Devils, and we'll continue this podcast episode from Lucas, myself, John. We'll be right back. Oh my gosh, man. We just finished watching the Devils Rangers. I'll just say this, Rangers fans, I'm sorry. This is no freaking attack on you, but the Rangers showed they're absolute freaking frauds. That was one of the most embarrassing in recent memory, Lucas. That is one of the most embarrassing efforts I've ever seen from a team in a game 7 in recent memory.
Yeah, man. Just nothing. They had nothing. The Devils skated them into the ground.
Yeah. Like outside of the power plays, like if that game was just ran 5-on-5, as you said in the chat, got to give credit to the Devils, of course. And Akira Schmid, unreal performance. Guy made a couple big saves. Outside of like maybe 2 or 3 big saves from the guy, Rangers just didn't have it. And Devils, man, if the Devils go on a run here, I mean, the Hurricanes are beat up. We know that. We talked about Rod Brindamore, but I mean, the Devils, man, they're going to be riding some crazy momentum here.
The Rangers got to be down bad right now. I mean, after their run last year, but the thing is, Johnny, is that this could have been the story last year too. Really, they squeaked by Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Who had goaltending injuries and all that.
Yep.
And Igor put on a show. And Igor, it's too heavy on Igor, man. The Rangers don't get to the hard enough places on the ice in front of the net.
Yep.
All their shots are from outside. The whole broadcast was just talking about how, the Devils had quadruple 5 times the amount of inner slot shots and all that.
Bro, I think at one point the inner slot shot was like 11-1 for the Devils.
Like, dude, you're never gonna win like that. And Patrick Kane and Artemi Panarin just were nowhere to be found. So yeah, I mean, for the Devils, they're gonna go up against Carolina now, and that's gonna be a sweet matchup. Lots of speed.
Yeah,
I actually picked the Devils to beat Carolina in the second round. I'm gonna stick with it. But I think that series is going to be awesome with speed and just a lot of talent on display. But I think the Devils, they got the game breakers to make it happen. Johnny, before I throw it back to you, though, the Devils, this is what's crazy, man. They just won this series without a goal from Nico Hischier. They just won this series without a goal from Jesper Bratt until the empty netter.
That's crazy.
They just won the series without a goal from Timo Meier. Like, that's wild, bro.
The Timo Meier one, I think there was a lot of Devils fans really disappointed by his performance in this series, but do not get it twisted. Nico was, and I'm not saying you're saying this, Lucas, but people will probably like interpret it. Nico was a massissive part of the series in different ways.
Nico was unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Obviously didn't put the points out. I mean, that's more Jack Hughes' specialty, but the Meier one's shocking, and guy got freaking lit up by. I can't believe that hit, bro. That's like right when I saw it, Lucas. Like, usually I'll go nuts on hits. I was just in shock, bro. That's like Scott Stevens level shit, bro.
It was. Credit to our buddy Alberga. He actually said that's the modern day Scott Stevens hit. But man, that like few minutes of play in the third where like Shesterkin gets his legs taken out, and that hit happens, like it was like the chaos of playoff hockey where I'm like, the Rangers are gonna find their way back in this game. Just like the way it's shifting right now. And they couldn't get one, man. But what a wild few minutes that was.
Also, I just want to quickly add to this because obviously I make a lot of trade rumor content. We talk about it on the podcast all the time. I literally said at the start of the stream that there was like this crazy rumor thrown out that it's like, oh, if the Rangers can't figure out a contract extension with Lafreniere, like talk to Montreal about like a Slavkovsky swap. And I was like, okay, get that shit out of here. But talk about frauds in this series, bro. Lafreniere, 0 points. 0, bro.
That can't happen.
Are you serious, man? 0 points. You were a first overall pick, man. I've defended you. 0 points.
Dude, that can't happen, man.
Like, and your freaking line mate, Hedl, I mean, again, like mixing it up and obviously special teams, but like Hedl 4 points on the board. Like Kreider, I was criticizing Kreider a little bit for game 7 effort, but like guy had 9 points, 6 goals in 6 games.
Yeah. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Panarin, man, 2 assists.
And like Patty Kane still put up a point per game, which is crazy to say. Or I guess 6 points in 7 games at this point now. But Panarin, bro. So he's got, I think he finished with 2 points in the series, but the last, I guess, including this game, 6 games with no points. Like that is, bro. What is cap it? 11.
One of the most
11.6.
One of the league's most expensive wingers. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's right up there. He's close to Matthews' contract.
Oh man,
I think it's in the 11s for sure.
If you're a Rangers fan, guys, like you have some major concerns. Like you just squeaked in Patty Kane and Tarasenko with a cap because of literally help from double retention. And Panarin is 11.642.
Wow, that's wild. That is wild. So Tarasenko, he had 3 goals, obviously, but like, man, if you just look on paper, this is why a lot of Rangers fans thought, after last year's momentum, this could be the year. You see the stars that they have.
Yeah.
Mind you, they're at the back end of their careers, a handful of them, but when are they going to get another chance like this where they can load up this heavy, right? Like you'd have to think Patty Kane's going to go, Tarasenko's going to go. Like
and all the extensions that like I just talked about. Like
exactly.
So,
dude,
I don't know, man. What a disaster.
If you're a Rangers fan right now, that's some down bad. And you lose to one of your biggest rivals. I mean, man.
Lucas, again, for the people watching, if they didn't watch our predictions. So what was your before we maybe just drive some predictions here and and wrap it up, what was your driving force on the Devils winning this series? Did you just see the advantage or were you hoping for chaos? Because I think on paper, people look at these two teams. Rangers overall seem better on paper, but the Devils have had the season they've had. Like, what was your driving force there?
driving forces were the speed of the Devils, which they showed all year, just how fast they can play. They showed it in this game. I mean, it's just crazy. Like when they get flying, forwards that they have, it's tough to stop. They're one of the fastest teams in the league. It was that. It was, which we talked about this on previous pods, it was the lack of experience in the playoffs. And the reason that sounds weird is because sometimes that lack of experience, when a team gets in for the first time, they can go on a bit of a run because of what they don't know.
Yeah.
It's almost like they have the blinders on. And they have no scars, right, in a way, because they've never been there. So they just play free. And
they have a couple guys that have gone on runs, like Andre Palat.
Yeah. But I mean the core.
More the core. Yeah, right? I'm with you on that. I'm with you.
More when I'm saying that, I'm thinking of Hughes and Heischer particularly, and Brad. But yeah, I mean, those were two of the big factors. And I'll just be honest, the third factor is, I play with my heart a little bit, and I wanted the Devils to win. I've always been a huge Jack Hughes guy. Everyone knows I'm a Jack Hughes guy, and so a bit of me wanted them to win, but I thought they could get it done. And a bit of me is surprised today that we're standing here talking about the Rangers being out in the first round, no doubt. But I'm happy to see it, man. I'm ready for the chaos of these playoffs, and I want to see Devils Hurricanes. I'm stoked for it.
All right, let's rip some quick predictions if you're down, or we can just say what we're thinking is going to happen. So if we start with where we're at right now, Devils Hurricanes, where are you going?
So hold on, are we going off of we're doing basically brand new? Like
I would say second chance brand new, but if you want to wrap with your original picks.
On this one, I'll wrap 100% with my original pick. I'm going to go Devils. And I'm going to say in 6 games. I think if Carolina had those key guys that are injured right now, we might be having a different conversation. But I'm gonna say on this one, Devils in 6 games. I think they're gonna be awesome in the second round after this big win against their rivals. What about you?
I'm gonna go hot take. My chat was buzzing with Devils. I'm gonna go Hurricanes in 7.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go Hurricanes ride. It's like the unexpected, and they're gonna be underestimated in the series. I think Devils to me were the underdogs in this series in a way for a lot of people. I think the Hurricanes somehow are going to be the underdogs for a lot of people. I mean, just based on my chat, Luke, because you saw it, most people were saying Devils. Yep. I think Hurricanes have enough. Sebastian Aho is heating up at the playoffs as usual. And I think if Freddie can play how he did in that game 6, I'm riding with my boy. Hurricanes in 7.
There's going to be some stinkers going by Freddie, though. You know it.
Probably,
in the big
probably a couple. We'll see. All right.
Next series, you start it. We'll go back and forth. So you start the next one.
All right. Leafs Panthers.
Yeah.
You know what? I think I'm a lot more nervous than other fans. I think people are, again, underestimating like the power of momentum, the power of being the underdog. And I watched that post-game interview from Tkachuk, and like the fact that the players are just riding that underdog mentality, biggest upset in NHL history. Like they're riding with that. It makes me so nervous.
Oh God.
I'm going to wrap with Toronto in 6.
Toronto in 6, eh?
I'm going to go Toronto with 6. I'm just going to keep the trend going. The Leaf fans packing in the Florida arenas. And hey, I feel like the vibe right now is Toronto fans give the Leafs too much pressure. They've got to win in Florida again.
All right. I'm going to be honest with you. I keep wavering. It's Leafs, no doubt for me. I think they're going to win this series. I think Florida's going to give them a test. Don't get me wrong. And a lot of these games are going to be close. It's not like the Leafs are going to blow them out of the water. But I keep wavering between 5 games and 6 games.
What?
I'm gonna go Leafs in 5, just to be different. I think Leafs in 5.
My.
This is the one, bro.
This guy reverse jinxed.
This is the one they win in 5. I just think, man, they're gonna take care of business in this round. I think the Panthers are gonna have a bit of goalie issues at some point.
I hope.
And I'm going Leafs in 5.
Okay, well, I mean, I hope. Obviously, I hope
that
happens.
All right, I'll start on the next one.
All right,
Dallas and Seattle. So in the original bracket, obviously I had Colorado. Unlike you, crazy, you had Seattle.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take Dallas in this one. I know they're the favorite. It's boring, but I really like Ottinger. I love how Dallas has the strong deep lineup that they have. They have the game breakers as well. I know Seattle's got the depth all throughout the lineup, but I like Dallas's game breakers. I'm a huge Robertson and Heiskanen fan, and I love Ottinger, man. Like I can't go away from Dallas. They're gonna make it tough though. Dallas in 6 games.
Fair. I'm gonna go Dallas in 7.
Okay.
You know what? I would love to ride, guys. You guys know I'm repping the Kraken. I adopted the Kraken last year. Big Seahawks guy. To me, again, it comes down to the star power. I just like the Avs obviously had the star power, but they lacked the depth. The Stars have the depth. They have the depth to match up against the Kraken. And I think if the big boys, like I said, Pavelski is healthy, Hintz, Robertson, I just think I look at the goaltending matchup, even if Grubauer plays like he was playing in the first round, you're up against Ottinger, who's arguably the best goalie in the playoffs right now. So I got to go Dallas, but I'm repping my Kraken in the sense that they're going to push it to 7. So Stars and 7 at home. All right. Oilers, Golden Knights, man. All right. So here's my thing, guys. Again, I love the storylines of, and I think I have a vibe of where Lucas might go here, but I don't know. I think for me, probably before I watched what Brossoit just did in the first round, like I was writing off, I'll own it. I was writing off Vegas a bit. Like I liked Vegas's offense and I'm a big Pietrangelo fan and I like their top 3D, but I think the goaltending for me was a little smelly, but Brossoit was looking good in that first round. And again, he's a former Oiler. I feel like goalies always step up big time against their former teams. So again, I just feel like I'm standing pat on what I had first round, but like, do not be shocked if Vegas wins here. Like I just, to me, don't overlook Vegas. I'm going to go Edmonton in 6, but do not overlook Vegas.
So here we are. After I was a huge LA Kings supporter, and unfortunately they just didn't get it done for me this year. With that said, I gotta go for, I'm picking the team that is up against the Oilers, and I'm picking Las Vegas. I think, man, it's a tough one for me. I know McDavid's gonna explode. There's no way McDavid is not gonna explode this round after, the lack of production just by his standard in round 1.
Yeah.
I think Vegas. I'm gonna pick Vegas though, because I think this is the pressure Jack Eichel. He's finally going to have this big moment in the playoffs. It's going to be in this series. I think it's going to be a high-scoring series, right? Like, I don't trust either of the goalies, really. I know Brossoit had a good round. I know Skinner had his moments. I don't really trust either of the goalies. So I'm saying it's going to be a high-scoring one. But I'm going to take Vegas in 7 games at T-Mobile.
All right, how are you feeling for a cup? We can just rip quickly, like our cup final vibes. I know, like, again, betting favorites has an Edmonton Toronto final right now. I'm gonna go with the rematch. Actually, I predicted it a couple of years ago, and I actually talked about it before this season. If Carolina was to stay healthy, again, we're not getting a healthy Carolina, but maybe Rod, I don't know, makes it big here, and I'm gonna go Edmonton Carolina final. Edmonton wins the cup.
Wow, the 06 final, run it back.
06, run it back.
Reversed.
Again, this squad has got to be there, but sometimes the reverse jinx of HTH is big power. So we'll see.
You know which way I'm going.
Yeah, I know where you're
Buds. Going. It's the Maple Leafs versus the Stars.
Wow.
I think Ottinger, he's going to be on a run, man. I like the Stars. I think they're going to beat Vegas if my predictions pan out. So I'm going to go Leafs and Stars.
I'll say this. If Devils go, I think Devils Leafs would be such a fast series, so entertaining. Again, I'm going with the revenge story on the goalie. I'd be shitting myself, Lucas, if the Leafs were playing Freddie. It'd be a write-off, bro. I'm telling you guys. It would be like the storybook ending, man. All the freaking hate that went against Freddie Anderson, Lucas, you'd be just sitting there watching the series, just down bad, bro. I'm telling you.
Dude, Freddie wouldn't even be playing in the series. I'll tell you that right now. If the Leafs get a whack at the Hurricanes in the conference finals,
you think it's not Freddie?
Freddie's gonna be on the bench after probably a game or two, man. He's gonna get.
This is gonna get clipped so bad if Carolina gets there, bro. This is gonna get clipped so bad.
Clip it. If the Leafs play against Freddie Anderson, there's no way he's stonewalling them. He's letting some stinkers when he's played the Leafs in the season, bro. I'm not worried about Freddie. Bro, man, I'm way more worried about
bro. When you're watching this next series, you better be praying New Jersey wins.
Man, I'll tell you right now, I'm way more worried about Akira Schmid than I am for Freddie Anderson. All right,
man, Schmid was looking good. I won't lie. I mean, that's another classic thing the Leafs would do is an inexperienced young goalie getting going. Man, I don't know, bro. I want that Leafs in the final, but I don't think us as Leaf fans in Canada, if the Leafs lost to the Oilers in a cup final, Lucas, it would be insufferable. It'd be one of the worst things to ever happen.
Yeah, from an entertainment perspective, for me,
that'd be insane.
What do I want? I want Leafs Oilers.
It'd be stupid. It'd be
I want the
insane.
Canadian matchup.
Yeah,
I want
unreal.
it.
It'd be unreal.
After all these years of, a Canadian team not winning the cup and the final starts on game one and one of them's taking it home, it's pretty crazy. I mean,
yeah, that'd be cool. I'm not going to lie.
Awesome.
It would be cool. I'm just, again, looking on the pessimistic side, that's like the highest risk, highest reward right there. And for all the marbles, two of the best players in the league, well, three of the best players in the league, with McDavid, Dry, and Matthews. And
you can throw Marner in there, right?
Yeah, Marner's playing like a top 10 player in the league right now, for sure. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, guys. I'll rep the 06 matchup because I've talked about that matchup quite a few times over the last couple of years. So I'll rep it, but you guys know who I'm rooting for. Also, I just want to quickly say, some people, if I go against my team, they're like, oh, fake fan. It's like, okay, man, like you can't every year be like, yeah, Leafs are winning the cup. Like I get freaking, my channel would get canceled if I did that every year. Imagine every bracket challenge, I'm just going Leafs to the cup.
Yeah, you're honest with it.
Anyways,
I feel like every year I make a bracket that may support the Leafs going further than I think they will.
Yeah,
but I do try to keep it real. And this year I picked them to win. And I'm confident about it still. I'll puff out my chest. At this point, on May the 1st, I'm feeling good. So there's our picks.
I like it. All right, guys. Anything else to add? I mean, the only thing I wanted to just touch on maybe quickly is just the direction of a few teams. And we just saw the Rangers with an embarrassing performance. Gallant could get fired. We just saw Daryl Sutter get fired. Lucas, anyone else maybe off the top of your head that we maybe might get the boot?
I was a little bit worried about Craig Berube in St. Louis. I know he's loved there, but I just was worried about how that team kind of folded as the year went on.
Yeah.
But obviously they made the changes with the assistant coaches, so I don't see that one coming.
Rick Bowness maybe in Winnipeg with the comments.
Rick Bowness with the way of that story.
It's either going to be Bowness fired or the
four
team guys on the Jets traded. Yeah.
And right now, you know what? It could even be both, John.
Honestly, it could be both.
I feel like Bowness really is pissing, a lot of people off in the market and even probably in management, maybe with the way this is going.
But I am seeing the other side. I am seeing like a lot of fans also appreciating the accountability because it hasn't been there in the past. I don't know. I'm with you, bro. I'm seeing both sides. I don't know.
I think the players are more likely to be changed because it's just been running back the same, for about lack of a better term, toxic core.
Well, Dubois to Montreal is the worst kept secret in hockey. Like
it's not like Elliott talks about it every few weeks.
I know.
Dubois to Montreal.
I just don't get it, guys. I truly don't. I don't get it. And like when he is traded to Montreal, we're all just gonna be like, "Oh, shocker!" Like,
yeah. Well, I will say, quick caveat on that is I think Elliott in his most recent episode said that there's a chance he could be traded to a contending team
for like 1 year,
for next year.
Yeah.
But then at that point, he still
goes to Montreal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, bro. Oh my. Anyways. So funny. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening and watching the podcast. Episode 35, just a quick rip on just the first round, second round predictions. I'll drop my short clip of how I see it the rest of the way in terms of my second chance, but you kind of got the vibe from both of us there. So thank you so much. Make sure you follow us on Spotify and Apple and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit up NHL Lucas on Twitter. And the Hot Take Hockey Twitter
and get Johnny to the 50K sub count, man. We're
50,
almost
000,
there. Johnny,
50,000 subs,
what is it? As we speak right now, you need like about 700 more?
Yeah, just under 700.
Just
650, around 650, I think.
Buddy, let's go.
We'll see. Man, maybe sometime in May. All right, guys.
I saw Jeremiah with the 50K before end of May or something like that.
Yeah. That's a good shout. I like that. Matt, especially if we got like a couple of game sevens in the second round. It's a good show. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much from Lucas, myself, John. We'll see you on the next epi. Have a great one. Peace.